We are going to talk about leggy seedlings, what they are, why they happen, how to fix them, and whether or not you should fix them. So first we're going to show you just a healthy seedling, okay? So this is a pretty normal seedling here. Look at this. Just a fairly short stem. If it was in a gentle breeze, it's like, oh, that feels delightful, no problem. Whereas if you were looking at these guys, they are tall and scraggly and sad and weak looking, not to hurt your feelings. But that's what they look like. So the reason that this happens is because those seedlings have been reaching for a light source. The light source for them was not potent enough. When you are using grow lights, those grow lights really need to be like an inch or two off the soil, or once your seeds sprout, an inch or two off the top of the seedlings. So you need to be checking those lights frequently and adjusting them as your plant grows so that they're getting a high enough potency of light. If they don't, they are going to reach their stems as far as they can to try to get to the light, but then you get a weak, scraggly stem. Now, one thing to consider is that different species are going to have different stem lengths. And so if you have a set of plants where the entire tray looks gorgeous and they've all been in the exact same growing conditions, but one particular species looks a lot taller than the rest, that might be fine. That might just be how it grows. So it's not necessarily an issue. But if they're looking weak and floppy and you have some that are just completely keeling over, yeah, we probably have to address that. So step one is just addressing the light source, making sure that you have a potent enough light and that it's close enough to the seedlings themselves. The next is whether or not you can transplant that seedling to help it grow more roots and to reduce the length of that stem. And the main example of this that I can think of is tomatoes. So tomatoes have this amazing quality where they have what are called adventitious roots, that are roots that will grow from the stem if the stem is in contact with a growing medium. So if you have a tomato seedling that like looks pretty healthy, but it's taller than it should be, you can replant it just into a deeper container, have more of that stem down into the dirt, and it'll create a stronger root system. And that's a really easy way to fix it. You can't do that with everything, right? You're not going to plant an onion like the bulb 8 inches below the surface. That's not going to work out well for you. But for some things, it works great. The question of whether or not a seedling is worth saving to me comes down to whether or not it has totally flopped over. So if I look at this little six pack, for example, this guy right here in the back that's just fully flopped over, that stem is going to be at really high risk of kinking. And once a stem is kinked off, then it's not going to get the resources that it needs. Might that one survive? It is possible. Do I think it's going to? No, I do not. The other thing that you can do is add just a small clip-on fan, okay? So like a little, like 3 to 6 inch fan that's gonna have a gentle breeze on this. I'm not talking like an industrial strength gale force wind, blow them over until they want to die, unless you're in a big old greenhouse. Although if you are, what are you doing here, man? I don't know. So little clip-on fan, and that's going to do a couple of things. It's going to bring in fresh air so that it has enough supply of CO2 to be able to do its respiration. But it's also going to mimic the conditions that these plants would have had outdoors, where they're constantly being exposed to a little bit of breeze in different directions, and that requires them to become more resilient and increase their stem strength. So there's a lot of good data that shows, both anecdotal and actual research data, that shows that that increases stem strength and helps your seedlings be a little bit more resilient once you do plant them outdoors. So that's it. Leggy seedlings are seedlings that are stretching too far for light. You got to fix the light source, replant them if you can, throw a little fan on them. Some of them are going to die, and that's okay. If you found this helpful, feel free to like and subscribe. If you didn't, that's okay. I hope you have a great day anyway.